national what? To the capital gang. I have Duncan Abigaba. I wanted to say to the new NRM. You're the new NRM person, Duncan Abigaba, with an NRM laugh. You're most welcome to the capital gang once again.
Thank you so much, Oscar, and good morning, our dear listeners.
Yes. You know, Martin Mugara Bayanduka has pushed you into Ofono Pondo's seat. That seat is for the old NRM.
Honorable Mugara has promised me his support, by the way. I've walked into the studios.
He has promised you his support.
Yes.
And that you are going to beat Chris Bariomunsi.
Yes, he's very confident that young people, because you can see we are age mates.
Yes.
He's very confident that our generation is
You
taking
look
over.
younger than Mugara. You are age mates?
He's a minister. He eats well. He has better facilities, has a SUV, etc.
Yeah.
Facilities that I do not have.
I hear you. One thing I like about him, he doesn't go around with his police pickups and all. And Chris does. Chris Bariomunsi, for him, he does.
Person in the party is the vice chairperson.
He's the vice chairperson.
We need to secure him for the NRM's future. So
to secure Chris Bariomunsi.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Duncan Abigaba, you thought he was with you. Clearly, he's not with you. But welcome to gang again. Welcome to gang, Honorable Minister Mugara. Good to have you back in the studio.
Thank you, Oscar, and good morning to our viewers, our listeners out there.
Yes, listeners.
I was telling you, I've come with a new title. I'm now the Chairman NRM of Toroko District. So
Chairman NRM Toroko District.
Yes.
That's a big post, is it?
Yeah, it means Nope will get nothing in my place almost. So
that people do what?
It means that Nope will almost get nothing in Toroko.
But how big is in Toroko?
Toroko is big.
Oh, Nope, NUP.
Yes.
Okay. But Nope does not stand for chairmanship in Toroko.
No, that means I have to deliver a 99% NRM victory in my place.
For parliament and president?
Yes.
Okay. And are you yourself going to stand for parliament?
No.
No.
Not this time.
Will you stand for presidency this time? No?
No.
You're going to stay under the NRM.
I have a president who's still strong, powerful, good ideas, and he can still steer the party
NRM
ahead.
where Moses Hari picks forms there, does it surprise anyone?
That what?
Because by your measure, even Moses Hari is still very strong.
But he's still going to beat you in the next election. That's how you...
No, I have said he's still very strong.
That is how you gain strength, by the election results.
Beating is not the issue. NRM can deploy people who are candidates to the hospital.
Semujju, don't confuse things. Moses Hari and Martin Bayanduka Mugara, they are at the same level. They are both party chairmen of their areas.
He has said that his 80-year-old Museveni is still very strong. Sometimes he needs a ladder to climb his vehicle.
No, but you see, Oscar, what I'm trying to tell Semujju is in politics.
But his vehicle is high. It is understandable. Even if you are going to climb.
Oscar, no, I am comparing Museveni, who did not need a ladder,
Oscar,
to one who needs it.
In politics, the way we analyze strength is by the result of an election. It's not by age.
Talking about a country, you are a minister. Don't speak like a vigilante from your area. You are a minister for
Yes,
Uganda.
I am a minister for Uganda, and I'm speaking for
services to the country.
Martin Mugara, let me save you from that one.
So, no, I'll have him later. It's okay.
Welcome to gang,
Mr.
Benjamin Katana.
Thank you.
Welcome to gang.
Thank you very much, Oscar. It is always a pleasure.
Yes. You're very smart today. Are you heading somewhere after gang?
Yeah, this is a very busy season, both for politics and social engagement. So I have a function to run to after here.
Okay.
But because of the importance of the show, I chose to delay a bit to go to the social engagement and come here first.
Excellent. We want you here. And are you going to stand for elective politics?
Not really.
Not really.
I'm not offering myself for any position.
He was just voted unopposed at the NUP delegates conference.
Oh, he was voted unopposed.
He had an opponent, but we don't know what happened. Because in NUP, I think top positions, we don't know if there is democracy. All of them, there were no elections. They say that we had the internal consensus and so forth. We don't know if consensus is a form of democracy. We know that's the NRM, what NRM has been using to choose their party chairman for a very long time. So I don't know if NUP has become a very good student of the NRM.
Like he has mentioned, I had an opponent, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Vuma, whom I managed to convince to step down in my favor.
For what position?
National Treasurer of the party.
So you will not now go ahead and try and be a parliamentarian. You're going to stop at national treasurer of the party.
No, I'll be serving the party and the country as the national treasurer of the party.
Very good. But tell us what Duncan Abigaba is accusing you of. Are you also like NRM? You have people in the constitution of your party that are at the top end?
It's like the UPC Act.
We certainly are not. And
Semujju, when I have Abigaba here seated in Ofono Opondo seat, I have to remind him to behave like Ofono Opondo.
We certainly are not like NRM. We are a democratic entity. People compete for positions.
Apart from party president?
No, even party president is open to competition. But
Honorable Mpuga wanted to compete for it, but
he did not pick expression of interest forms. Yes.
Okay.
But if he had, he would have been one of the candidates.
But we all know that there is no NUP beyond Bobby Wine. So
but Katana is
beyond Bobby Wine there is no NUP.
But you're sitting.
That is his miserable assumption, and I don't want to give it attention. It's not. I'm here.
Right.
So
NUP has millions of supporters, so you cannot say there's no NUP without Bobby Wine.
But
that's the NRM mentality that the party is about an individual. But I think we should ignore that and proceed with the debate.
So people pick nomination forms. Is that what you call them?
Expression of interest forms. Yes.
And people have picked them up.
Yes, and have returned them in big numbers.
Yeah.
And others are still returning them. I think a number of them will return. Monday should be the last day, if my recollection serves right.
Okay. And then what's the next step after they return them?
So after that, there is a process of vetting, where all those people who have met the minimum qualifications for these offices will be required to come and appear before the election management committee, and they are assessed and awarded marks.
Okay.
And after that, there is a survey that is also deployed to the respective constituencies to gauge the temperature in the respective electoral areas, and on the basis of that survey and the assessment done by the election management committee, the respective flag bearers will be arrived at. And that is in line with our constitution and our consensus as a party.
How long does that process take?
Well, it is going to take about, say, 2-3 months.
2-3 months. Okay.
Because I'm counting from the time when it started.
Let's say from the deadline. From when it started.
Yes.
Not from the deadline of Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay. And now this election committee is headed by.
It's headed by a lady called Harriet Chemutai.
Okay.
Chemutai is from Kapchorwa. She's the chairperson of the committee, and she's deputized by Dr. Sempija.
Okay. And both the two are not going to stand for elective
No. They are not going to stand for elective.
They are serving the party.
Yeah, they are serving the party.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And they have members who include the ones that are responsible for the respective regions.
Yeah.
Yes.
And presumably that committee will stay for the period of 5 years.
Yes.
Okay. In case you have a by-election or anything.
The tenure is for 5 years and is defined under our constitution, and
Okay. And then this verification committee that goes to test a place in Gulu, how?
It is a survey that the electoral commission. The electoral commission contracts an independent body that is not drawn from the leadership of the party,
right,
to conduct the survey.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then they go to.
And they carry out a scientific survey. Yes.
Okay. President of the other UPC, Jimmy Kenna, is in the studio. So are you sure, like, you could send that committee to his constituency to verify?
Sure, they have done it before, and in the previous elections they did so.
Yeah.
In the different by-elections we have had, they have done so, and I'm certain that they will do a good job.
Okay. Thank you. Honorable Semujju, welcome to Gang. I know that you are going to stand once again in my home family constituency.
So is your family with me?
Yes. Unfortunately, I can't vote for you, but some of my family are with you. Some of them are in the UPDF. They've said they are not with you, but the majority they are with you. Yeah.
You see, the one I will contest.
You will contest.
I have said that.
Okay, I want to ask you the same question.
Yes.
So, because I knew the last few times you've contested as FDC, I knew the processes.
Yeah.
Now I don't know the processes of PFF. I even sometimes forget the name. Are you having the same problem? Because now I know Semujju, not PFF.
Now you know Semujju, not the party. Because the party is new.
Yeah. But that might not be my only my problem. Might be a problem for many people.
Yeah. I told there's a guy who came from Bukit there, Kumi, and he was seeking my advice going into an election. And I told him, you see, you can win an election on the basis of your popularity as a candidate. We have 70 or more MPs who are independent in parliament. They are more than the main opposition party in parliament who are MPs who are independent. You can also win an election on the basis of the popularity of your party, or you can be a beneficiary of confusion in the parties. So I told him, you need now to go and assess yourself, whether you want to win by your popularity, the popularity of a party you subscribe to, or you want to calculate the fallout that will happen when parties have selected their candidates. So our party is new, not new in the sense of people who are behind it, but new because they have just been registered. I remember when the FDC had just started, there was a senior leader who used to call it DFCU. He couldn't mention the name. At the beginning, usually it's very difficult, but we will continue popularizing.
Yes, PFF. Me thinking PFF stands for
People's Front for Freedom.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We shall ask again and again.
Yeah. Don't you do that in the class? And so the party president is. We have because we have just been issued with a certificate of registration. We have a committee of founders headed by former leader of opposition Wafula Ogutu, who until July 8th, when we will have the first convention to elect interim leaders, Wafula now is the leader because he's the one who went to register with the party. But the founders, who are more than 5,000, will convene on July 8th at Katonga here, and then we will elect interim leaders. Because we're transiting from an existing party where the structures existed, they are now all acting in an interim capacity until July 8th. But we are doing all this simultaneously because you also have an election. We got a certificate on Thursday, but nomination for special interest groups had started on Monday. So we are doing a catch-up. The only advantage is that the next nominations for local government will take place between 2nd and 12th of September. So we have a bit of time to restructure us, to institutionalize ourselves, and then abide by our constitution, but also the national constitution and the Political Parties and Organizations Act. Because the moment you register and submit as one of the requirements a constitution to the Electoral Commission, you are going to be judged against your own constitution. You must subordinate yourself to it. So we are in that process, institutionalizing ourselves, but preparing for elections as well.
So are you just optimistic, or because I see this is a tall order you've given yourself?
Yeah, so if you wanted simple things, you would be home sleeping.
You would be in FDC. Small.
No, the point at which we left FDC, I think we are never going to stay there, whatever the circumstances. We said so we left. So what has been most difficult is registering a party. It has taken us 11 months. Even when you submit signatures, the Electoral Commission will verify under the law, but they abandoned this work of verification in many areas to security and to NRM. When Dr. West got arrested, it even became worse. There are areas where they were telling people had appended their signatures to our application to register that you are registering to join university in a rebellion. So someone has come to verify whether you have endorsed the registration of PFF. But the first question is asking you, did you also append your signature on this application to join university in a rebellion? No, I didn't. Then they tell us, in a Kapchorwa, everybody has said they did not sign. The most interesting thing was in Bukede, where Honorable Odoman Okero, former MP, 3 times MP, one of the 12 who registered the party, they said, here you have no signature. All the signatures here were forged, including of Odoman Okero, a former MP, 3 times in Parliament. One of the 12 that were registered in the party, they said his signature had been forged. Then he said, okay, you can go back and correct again. But we went through that. So what happens after that are normal processes. We have invited the candidates, even as we institutionalize, we have invited those who are interested in competing for elections. Starting Monday, people will come to pick forms. They will fill them, return them, and then we will subject them to party primaries where we have. But Oscar, what you need to understand, the positions, elective positions in Uganda, in the last election there were 2.7 million elective positions from villages. The Electoral Commission, in their work plan, they said the last 15 years have been in FDC. All the opposition parties, none of them has the capacity to fill the candidates in all. I'll give you an example, and I've said this many times. Wakiso district, by the last population census, is 3.4 million people. It has 9 MPs. Karamoja, as a sub-region, with 1.4 million people, has 26 MPs. So 3.4 million are represented by 9, 1.4, not even half of Wakiso. So that's why all these interlocals became districts, and someone is very happy that he's a chairman of a small an enclave. My constituency is 500,000 people. My village where I vote from.
Semujju, the question now is trust. If you left FDC, you did not go to ANT as we thought you would, and now you are in PFF.
Yes.
How do we know that, again, you will not quarrel in PFF and go?
Quarreling is normal. That's why there are courts of law. That's why there are tribunals. Nobody should tell you that in our party there will be no quarrels. That's why even in the Constitution, in FDC, we have this disciplinary committee. Even in the PFF, the disciplinary committees exist. I told the PFF people at the beginning, they said we should not repeat mistakes of FDC. And I said, you see, these conditions, sometimes you don't create them. Just prepare to deal with conditions if they arise.
As they come.
So I cannot come here and tell you, for us now, having left the FDC, will never quarrel, will never split. You will now be denying natural processes. Every political party will have issues. You can deal with them and have everybody, but at every stage, people will keep moving out. I hear
you, because NUP just registering a candidate, it requires a lot of work.
So the conditions will determine how you conduct yourself and relate to.
So we welcome you, Honorable Jimmy Akena. Most welcome to the Capital Gang. That seat usually has a UPC person. Your friend Joseph Otieno. So I forgot to let him know that you're coming. I'm going to text him and tell him to listen in, because a party president is here. He does not believe you are his party president.
Who is his party president?
Not Akena. He says Akena is not my party president. No. So you're most welcome to Gang.
No, thank you. Thank you very much for having me on the Capital Gang.
So talk about disciplinary committees. Even before I ask about your ambition, you should be taken to the UPC disciplinary committee for sanctions, because your house has NRM in it and has UPC in it. And I guess
I had trouble when I was chief opposition whip. I was assigning UPC MPs to committees. NRM would be assigning the same MPs. You say you're on a committee on agriculture and Ankabira should services technology. So really, I can give me problems.
So to begin with, even before, how are you going to manage that?
I think my brother Semujju here is doing a little bit of taking some literal license to expand on this issue. What happened at that instant is that on the basis of the friendly-ish relations we had, some of our members were appointed on leadership of committees which were the preserve of the government. And therefore, those ones had to be mentioned or designated on the government side.
Let's first correct some English here. Did you say had or have?
Had.
But you have, not had.
That's what he had said.
So I want to make a correction. It is have, not had.
No. I am very careful with my language.
So am I. Yeah.
So, at that time, we had members who were on leadership of committees which are the preserve of government. As of today, we do not. There is no UPC member who heads or is in the leadership of a committee which is the preserve of government.
Did your agreement end with the NRM party?
There are areas where we've had our difficulties. There are areas where, by the president's old words, that his party was unchristian. And by my own definition of recent, I said they have taken it a step further to take it to a level of diabolical. Right. So there is a lot of kicking and pushing under the table, but we all remain part of Uganda. Now, the earlier point on this UPC, that UPC, I only know one UPC. And on the ground, you'll only find one UPC.
On the ground?
Yeah, the others may be in the figment of other people's imagination, but there is one UPC which has 12 members of parliament, 5 district chairmen. You can add another 2 members of parliament who have basically who have signed MOUs. We have councillors. The rest, I don't know where they are, and I don't know where they do their politics, because as far as in Uganda, I don't see them. Elections come and go. They're nowhere to be seen. Some of the elections take place outside of the cycle of the politics.
So by the rest, you are referring to Joseph Otieno?
I saw, there's a clip I saw Joseph where he, in fact, it was recorded, I think, just outside of here, where he was saying he was elected in December of 2020. As a UPC leader. Now, 2020 December, we were deep in the campaigns. We had done nominations. Now, you're doing what? And for these last 4 years, what has happened? So we have to be real. There's a season for election, and elections actually take place on the ground. Where I am now, although there's a lot of, well, not say a lot, there are some people having misgivings. On our register, I saw a headline which is giving me 2.4%. On the register as it stands now, whatever it is, on the register.
Ahead of Semujju's party, which I think is 2.3%.
In terms of?
It's an opinion poll.
Okay.
In the New Vision.
New Vision, yes.
Headed by Wanyama, who was sacked from Monta for falsifying an opinion poll.
So, on my register, as of now, we are approaching 4%. So if we have a 4% of UPC members...
4% of popularity?
No. Yeah. Roughly of...
4% of the registered voters.
Not registered voters. I'm doing this on the rough turnout of... Basing on the last turnout, 1% was about 110,000. So basing on that one, with projections which you can see what is likely with the increased registration. Now, of course, an election, it depends. If it is something, a hot button issue comes up, the turnout will increase, or something where people have apathy, you get a lower turnout. But it's not like in NRM where they have more people on the register than people who actually vote in the general election. because officially I think they have 18 million on their register. 19.8.
And in all the elections,
they have never
gone beyond 8.
Yes, so it does not make sense, that one. I mean, for us,
this time they've been going around verifying their registers, so maybe they will have more accurate.
If you have it on the register but they fail to vote on voting day, then those I will not say those are not the party members. You see, the members who you have on your register, you expect them to be the bulwark. You know, you expect them to be at the forefront. You expect them to be mobilizing. Those are the votes you can count on. But you expect that you have more than that. These are people going to go out and mobilize more than that. So at this stage, I am quite satisfied with 4% of expected turnout as of today.
Okay, 4% is the way NUP is accused. They have a vote in Buganda, or DP used to have a vote in Buganda, and now UPC seems that 2% you've had in the past, or 2.5% that's being predicted, is basically in Lango.
And my registration goes beyond Lango, so I'm not worried. Yeah. Those figures we'll come to the conclusion of it, and they'll come out. So far, I am satisfied with my targets. I'm satisfied with where we're headed, and I believe we should be able to have a significant impact on the 2026 election.
But Jimmy, you have a problem in that you're losing one seat. There's a lady, a minister. She's moving from Lango, going to Acholi. So, under NRM, I think.
Which one?
You see, the minister you are referring to is Akena's wife. I was in school. I was in school with her. She's my friend. We are classmates at the university.
Because
she's UPC.
That she's going to stand in Acholi.
No, she's UPC, but still a minister in the NRM government. She's just switching from Oyam
South constituency to Lira City.
To Lira City.
Oh, not Acholi.
No. She's moving within the same region. So as Akena goes to
NRM
contest
is
for
going
president,
to win in Lira City.
No, she's still UPC.
She's actually going to contest against
an NRM minister.
NRM minister.
Jane Ruth Acheng.
Right.
So Akena has deployed his wife to go and remove the minister for health.
No.
So these Semujju, these are the problems the NRM and Museveni suffer from Semujju.
No, but you see,
goes and attacks on even on a personal.
No, even when you attack this one, there has never been an electoral alliance or an agreement with NRM. In every election, NRM have fielded candidates against me. I have never cried, I've never quarreled. This time I've heard this Minister of Health has tried to make noise, but I have insisted we are fielding a candidate as UPC. At the end, the chips will fall where they fall. One will win and the other one will lose.
On this one, Semujju, has the edge because she's not coming in as UPC.
She's UPC.
She's an NRM minister.
No, she's a minister in a government headed by NRM on a UPC ticket. She's elected on UPC ticket. She's elected on UPC ticket. And she's contesting on a UPC ticket. So, as far as elections,
it seems like
we have never...
Just semantics.
It's not semantics. When we field candidates, we do our process of fielding candidates. I have contested the NRM candidate every election. 2006, I contested against Sam Ingola, the vice of NRM at the time.
In the north.
For the north. In 2021, I contested against Orech Jogo. No, 2011, Orech Jogo. 2016 was a witch poller.
But Akena is not answering the question. These are two senior ministers in the Museveni government.
Yes, of different parties.
Who has never held a government position.
Of different parties.
So
different parties.
You see, that's the problem with Semujju and understanding democracy. And that's why he was attacking me at the start. To do with Moses Ali.
It might be a problem with most of us.
No, I was just saying to do with Moses Ali.
But I just want to say it might be a problem for most of us, not just Semujju.
Yes, and I want to say why. Because you echo it more than the others. The people who vote for Moses Ali are his voters. Whether they vote him in whatever condition, it's their democratic right, and you shouldn't say them should be the one to decide or like NUP that gets a verification committee and you go and decide for the people. I think we should let people. What's wrong with two senior ministers contesting? That's what the NRM fought. The NRA fought for.
Lack of understanding of democracy. He thinks the NRM consensus should be the consensus of every party.
No, but Martin, if you were to take a NUP style verification, so under their verification, does General Moses Ali, would he pass as the popular candidate for his area?
Is it up to the verification committee or the voters?
Imagine it was there.
No, I can't imagine. It is absurd. It is an absurdity. Why would I imagine that? It is up to the people to decide who leads them, not a verification committee.
I think the problem is a limited understanding of how democracy operates, to think that it is restricted to the NRM consensus.
Yeah, but
parties world over have different consensus. That's your consensus on how MPs are arrived at. Do you, for example, know how ANC chooses its members of parliament? They go a rigorous vetting process.
Oscar,
it is a dictionary definition. It's a bare minimum.
So the consensus of NRM is not universal.
Let me have Benjamin here.
Yeah, but he needs to benefit from this. There are qualifications in the constitution.
Yes.
One of them, you must be physically fit and mentally fit. It is in the constitution. That's why one time I was telling Parliament.
The last time I checked, you are not a doctor to know if somebody is not mentally
fit. In Parliament, I actually suggested one time that since we have an old president, his physical capacity needs to be checked regularly against the constitution. Because that's what the constitution says. You must be able to do the work. You don't go and pick people from Murago and then deploy them.
In the US, last election in the US, it became very imperative that the mental capacities of those who hold power need to really be checked. Otherwise, you can end up in a disaster.
But it was decided by the people still. I don't think...
No. The mental ability of a candidate was on display in that election.
So Noop should have a medic.
Hold on, Duncan. Let's first start with Benjamin. Then yourself, Duncan, then back to Martin.
Yes. So what you were saying. Yes, I was explaining that internal processes of a party are determined by two parameters. One is the minimum consensus of the party, which is reduced in the party constitution. But number two are the national laws of the country. Now, if this internal consensus does not violate the national legal framework, that consensus passes, and that is democracy. And I've given him an example of how parties beyond, but the problem with the NRM people at different times are obsessed with a particular opponent. So every explanation of theirs is restricted to NUP. I've given you an example of ODM. Do you know how they select their party flag bearers? I've given you an example of ANC. Do you know how they select their party flag bearers? So different parties, depending on the different contexts in which they are operating. For us, for example, as NUP, our processes are guided by one, democracy, but number two, the terrain in which we are operating. And he has just given an example about the capacity field in every constituency, which is largely informed not by the internal weaknesses of the organizations, but external factors, including harassment from security apparatus. Just yesterday, our team of the party secretary for organization were in Noya trying to establish committees, and they were arrested. They are now in jail for conducting legitimate party business. But the same people who are disabling parties from conducting legitimate party business want to come and say these parties are not doing ABC. So our approaches are informed by the threats that we face, but also the desire to make sure that one, there is democracy in the party, but number two, that we are able to protect the aspirations of our people from being hijacked by those who want to destroy the party.
Okay.
And what has been happening in the country to the other opposition political parties.
It is so clear that NUP is targeted mostly by government forces and so on. But there's a failure of NUP. Why aren't you reaching out to fellow political opposition parties and say, can we do something together? Because as Semujju says, the opposition will not be able to fill 3 million places. And NUP, as the leader in opposition in this tenure, we have not seen it reaching out.
I think, Oscar, first of all, it's a wrong conclusion to say that there is failure to reach out.
We have not seen it.
You have, for example, the Honorable Semujju here will tell you that we interact with them regularly as a party. Honorable Jima Akena will tell you that we interact with them regularly on how best we can work together within the difficult circumstances, and several other political entities registered and registered for as long as there is shared aspirations. So it's not true that we are not reaching out. But again, the same circumstances that are crippling individual political entities are also crippling the ability to work because you see, if for example the people who are trying to register members to establish committees in Nuoya are arrested because they are NUP, tomorrow it will not stop the security agencies from arresting them because they have gone with those of PFF and UPC. It will still be the same thing. The people, he has given you an example of what happened in Kapchorwa, where they said, did you also sign up to be part of his treasonous schemes? So I think it would be simplistic to think that because the challenges we face are not challenges of working as individual entities. They are challenges of the NRM mentality of approaching politics as a single state party in a country that on paper is under multi-party dispensation. So you have all the agencies of the state sucked into doing partisan activities for the NRM. The Honorable Bahinduka here was bragging about getting 90% in Ntoroko. I challenge him to let NUP and other opposition forces mobilize in Ntoroko. You try to conduct an activity of PFF, even don't talk, and I can, you're saying war has stopped. But we have written to Electoral Commission and UPC, and EC, Electoral Commission and Uganda Police Force, informing them that we are going to conduct consultations for a presidential aspirant. It's now about 3 months. They have not responded. He's asking who has stopped you. Even in Kampala, by the way, the activities are restricted to the party headquarters. If you try to carry out an activity, you saw what happened in the youth elections that we are talking about, where you have security agencies moving around confiscating nomination papers for people who are aspiring to be youth leaders, cancelling nomination of those who have been nominated because they are from the opposition. So
hang on a bit on that one, because I want us to talk about those youth elections shortly.
Yeah.
But I'll come back to you. And
yes.
Honorable Seb, let's go to Duncan here. So Duncan Abigaba, you wish
Chairman,
NRM Vice Chairman and MP.
No,
Do you work?
No, not MP. Not MP.
Not MP.
No.
Why not?
Ordinary. The challenges I see in the NRM, I think they are coming from leadership at the top echelons. And we already have a lot of representation. We already have a lot of representation in Parliament. So I would not be making a significant contribution if I went to Parliament. But I think as a young voice, I would make some contribution if I went to the Central Executive Committee. So my efforts and interest are in SEC.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you want to stand for SEC, and it doesn't worry you about all this mess that seems, it's unstable. We seem to have collected a lot of the problems of Uganda's politics.
Yes, there are so many problems, and this is why we are coming in as young people to bring fresh ideas on the table. Semujju has been my MP in Nigeria for I don't know so many years. The challenges exist. The challenges he inherited, I don't think he has even solved 1%. You and I know the roads. Patricia was accusing me of reaching late, and the challenge is the roads in Semujju's constituency.
Yeah, it is my judge's constituency as well.
So the politics, we should commend the political parties for the ongoing exercises. I'm seated in Ofono Pondo's chair, so I will be very good NRM today. He had invited me to Miranda today. He's giving away his daughter.
Yes.
And he was preparing to travel until Patricia called me, and then I had to change course.
We congratulate Ofono Pondo.
Yes.
Because his daughter he did invite us. I received an invitation on your behalf. He invited us for the Kwanjula.
Never extended it to him.
For the Kwanjula, and also his other daughter has graduated the
aeronautical engineering
yes,
degree from Nanjing University in
Yeah.
China, which I think is the best university in China. So
fantastic.
yeah, we congratulate OO.
So when are your elections going to take place?
So
Duncan
elections
Abigail?
are going to take place in August during the NRM delegates conference.
Right.
I think around 22nd.
Have you picked up the nomination forms and registered?
They have not yet called nominations for the Central Executive Committee. They started with the members of parliament and district chairpersons, local government chairpersons, where I think NRM has been able to issue out the number of people expressed interest close to 3,000, and each one of them paid 3 million shillings.
Oh.
So that's around 10 billion shillings raised from nominations. So we commend the NRM. That shows some bit of...
It is.
yeah, the money is important because it's going to help in running the party.
Yeah.
It's going to help in running the party. But it also points to...
I only have your microphone on, so
very
continue.
good.
Yes.
It also points to the fact that the NRM is still very, very popular, because it's the party where you at least have every constituency of this country represented at the election level.
Go on.
That notwithstanding, I think my party also should have done some internal soul searching, especially on the issues that have been raised on this table. There is a Ugandan who is going to court to challenge the nomination of General Moses Ali. I think...
Your microphone is on.
I think most of us agree that Mzee Ali should retire in public interest. He served his country diligently for the last, I think, 60 years from... he should have been in King's African Rifles or so, I don't know. So he's served. So we think he should retire in the public interest. And I would encourage my brother here, the Honorable Minister, to move a vote of thanks in one of the upcoming cabinet meetings and say that in public interest, they can even run a poll, an opinion poll and so forth. He should move a motion in cabinet and ask the president to grant Moses Ari a peaceful retirement with all his packs. If General Moses' other problems are missing out on a vehicle, bodyguards, drivers, allowances, my brother, you can move a motion in cabinet that General Ari is going to retire. We as Ugandans have approved cabinet.
Let him first finish his proposal to you. Martin, let him first prove.
I've given cabinet a green right to give General Moses a retirement with all his packs. That's one. Number two, there was also another issue that has made a lot of, out there in the public, especially on the social media, the issue from Zimbabwe of General Washande. And it is one of the things that have encouraged me to contest. Because I see that in NRM, meritocracy has died. There is no longer respect for education. And unlike during UPC days when our grandparents and parents went to school, the UPC built a very good system of education and so forth then, which I see in the NRM is dying. The NRM nominated General Washande without requisite academic qualifications. And one of the points they considered to equate his military qualifications to Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education included the basic military training in 1982 of UPDF. And I think somebody might go to court and challenge that because there was no UPDF in 1982. So these are some of the issues that emerged from the NRM internal processes, where I think we should have done better as a party.
I've not talked about the young man from your village who was chased away, who had gone to pick nomination forms to run as party chairman and presidential candidate.
There's a young man. I actually went to school with him, primary school, primary 6 and primary 7, who were in the same class. Who went to the party, has paid his 20 million shillings to be nominated as party chairman. And no, they haven't cheated his money. I can defend Dr. Tango Doy on that issue. Because the nominations for SEC, where I'm also running, have not been called. They were dealing with members of parliament and local government. So I hope that when the right time comes, my OB is going to be given a fair hearing, is going to be given nomination forms, and is going to be allowed to run in the party primaries.
Yes. Just like anyone
in the
else.
Delegates Conference,
Okay.
and the members of NRM are going to choose.
Yeah.
That's either. Or,
Stands no chance.
the
verdict is even here.
No, Honorable Minister.
I'm a voter.
Yes. Internally, the NRM can agree, and by consensus, and say we do not have to waste time and resources on this election of the party chairman. President Museveni, like some of us believe, is still able, is still of sound mind, and like what Honorable Semujju was saying
previously, there was another man still from your village called Maguru who was arrested for trying to contest against Museveni in the NRM internal processes.
Captain Winda Maguru, the matter ended up in court, and it was amicably resolved between the parties involved, and I think the party gave him a deployment. So NRM,
your village seems problematic.
These are the people complaining about an opposite contestants in another party.
But allow Martin, I think you have received Duncan's proposal that you could move a vote of thanks and in the country's interest to retire General Moses.
I had not listened to Duncan before. I have now listened to him. I don't know if this strategy of his is going to work for him to win the
party chairmanship,
the chairmanship, the deputy vice chairmanship against the others. But anyway, I've listened to what he has said. But for me, like he said, I'm happy we've reached where we've reached. Semujju, if any of the parties,
Semujju.
Yes, no, I will not. I have spoken to that already. Moses Ali represents East Moyo constituency in Ajumani district. His people should be given a right to decide. No, and I want to request Abigaba, I want to Abigaba that you first go to East Moyo. If you make that case, I'm willing to carry it from there if you get a consensus from his voters. But I think you'll be stoned there. The man is as popular as I don't know what. So it should be left for the people.
Even dead people are popular.
To decide. So just you see, and I think Katana said it that sometimes we tend to get obsessed with NOP. It is very difficult to discuss FDC, EFF. It is irrelevant. It is inconsequential. It's almost non-existent. I want to assure you that if Semujju was not on Capital Gang, and a few other leaders, I think they are like two in FDC, we don't be discussing FDC. We don't want to discuss it. It's actually in its dying days. I think Semujju is more popular than the EFF itself. The only party that we think...
In Luganda slang, we'd say, Tokubye nyo.
But in a party where you were a member, you had only one MP, and Museveni failed.
But you see the problem with
he contested in Mara North and he failed. So parties grow.
I listen to Semujju.
Just say quickly, in a few minutes we have left. The youth elections. I'm looking at NRM winning everything in the country. It's like yellow all over, and this is a question that should go to the three opposition people here.
Yes, I
think for you, Martin, you just say congratulations to all.
Yes, but I thought because you gave these people some time to make their case, I thought I'd speak to this as we conclude, then we can go on to. So we tend to speak to NOP more. It's a bit more popular than the others, and of course I don't expect it to grow further than where it is as we speak.
60 MPs.
Yes, 60 MPs. I think the number is going to go down, and I want to place a bet. If any party can put a fee of 3 million, the UPC is here, 3 million as a requirement for people to contest as members of parliament and local government leaders. I believe you will not have any. It's only the NRM, and out of this you have almost 3,000 with 800 returning forms as we speak. But that aside, I don't want to the blame games and the speaking. As the NRM party, the principle is clear. We are in government, we decide how we run this country. But we've said we want to support these parties. We are giving them money. NOP is getting around 5.7 billion. FDC is getting so much. The issue is how you decide to use the money. If you get yours and decide to build a party headquarters as something important, then going to the grassroots and mobilizing people so that you can have... Because as the NRM, for instance, we didn't start with the mass election in the NRM primaries. We started by the electoral colleges. And it did not work because we're limiting participation for all the masses, and that is how we moved to. So with the resources we are giving all these parties. I wouldn't expect anyone to discuss verification committees of people coming from Kampala to go and decide for the local populace. I know it is going to fail. It is going to work against a NUP, and I would advise, use the resources we are giving you very well. It's not about the buildings, it's about the actual people buildings.
You want them to take advice from you?
No, they should, because we have experience in these things. If they don't, they can take advice from FDC and end like them. But for me, and I learned a lesson out of the elections I participated in. Going to the question that you asked, I want to tell you, for instance, where I come from. The people that participated in the NRM structure elections at youth, women councils, and the rest, where we come from, or in the most of the countryside, there will actually not be an election of EC. We'll just be confirming the NRM candidates. That's what is going to happen, and that's what's happening.
And it has happened before.
Yes. Yeah. So, but this is as a result of mass mobilization. So this shows how strong the party is. We all believe NRM has its challenges here and there. It is still a strong party with a very strong candidate, and I believe the person who has picked forms to contest with His Excellency will be given chance. I can assure you, he stands no chance whatsoever. He will be floored. We believe that President Museveni is still a good president for Uganda, for East Africa, for the region, and Africa at large.
This is a good time to stop for a break. I'll allow a few minutes to talk about these elections that have been held before we go international.
Capital Gang on 91.
The youth, it seems like even in your own constituency, it is all yellow, both PWD and the youth elections.
No, that is not true. In Lira we did.
I'm looking at the electoral map here.
I don't know who produced that map. I know what is in Lira.
Yeah.
In Lira, we did well in Lira. We've had some issues in Teso where I've asked somebody to deal with, where there's this crude thing of just changing from what transpired here and then what is eventually declared. It's a complete reversal. So we're trying to follow up on some of this issue, but this gives us a forerunner of what to expect in the general. But on this issue of special interest groups, with the sort of resources which NRM deploys, both human and some of them are not NRM resources. You find agencies of government involved in this process prior. You find ISO very much involved, and so many structures of government involved in this process. I don't take that as a gauge of the strength of NRM. We're actually going to meet them in the general, and that is where we deal with them. Because on many of these councils, you find that it is only at the special interest groups that you find NRM represented. This is in Lango, most of the issue in Lango. We win the direct seats, but special interest groups, you find that's where NRM is. But the rest, they are nowhere to be seen. And that is because of having ability to control the process in coming up with these special interest personnel. But that does not deter as far as the general election is concerned.
Go on. That does not deter?
It does not deter because, I have my path. My pathway was a target to be able to get numbers enough to make a significant impact in the election. And I am so far well advanced of where I'm supposed to reach. I'm coming close to the double digits. And once I reach the double digits, provided other things hold, there's going to have to be a very serious conversation which you people are not ready to have. You think that this country is yours, it is not. This issue where they say they give us money, this is state money. Who are they to give it to us? We are citizens. We're citizens. We're citizens. Okay, you stop and you also don't. No, you see, this is where they get it wrong. Please hear me on this one. The funding is on representation in parliament. If you say you're going to remove us, you remove yourself also. It is those of us who have representation in parliament who have access to that funding. It does not matter. But they cannot say that they give us. They're giving themselves more. So please, taxpayers' money is not NRM money. You may be controlling the government today, but it's not your government. This is the government of the people of the Republic of Uganda. You are just there as a steward. Don't think it is yours. You are a steward. Right. Understand that one.
Really?
So, just before we go to that, for you personally, are you going to move away from MP seat and stand for the presidency?
I am well on the way, and that's why I'm saying I have my targets, and the targets I am well ahead of the curve. That's what I say on my register. At the moment, I am approaching 4% of the target which I need in the general.
You're speaking as a lawyer.
No. Okay.
As the president of Uganda, or seats for UPC?
No, seats where the NRM will struggle to get. They may get 4 or 5 at the most in Langwa, if you say the Langwa only. But I'm going beyond Langwa. I have sales candidates in Kabaramide, I have sales candidates in Kalaki. And as Semujju said earlier, there are areas of influence. Which we have, and it's realistic. The same way which you're saying that in Toroko, that the NRM primaries is basically the foregone deal. In many of these other areas, we also have influence, and I'm sure NUP also have their areas of influence. So all of us, this all together makes Uganda. So when I say 4%, I'm meaning like the 2.4 which they're giving, I have more than that already on the register.
Okay. Just quickly from you, Honorable Semujju.
I have more than about double what I have on the register.
In Buganda,
on the register
is where we have some opposition in these special interest individuals, special interest elections, but still the NRM won.
I don't think NRM winning special interest groups is news. From my experience, both as a politician and journalist, political parties don't usually pay a lot of attention to those structures, because those structures, Oscar, they can give you comfort in the statistics, but they are useless. I was on the youth council in Micho up to the parish, but we did not sit the 2 years I was in Makerere completing my course. We only got together to elect. After electing, we went away. We never even had a single meeting for 2 years. And I remained on the committees even when I left the university. So political parties don't usually give a lot of attention. That is one point. But second, I'll tell you what happened in Chira, Oscar. In most of the villages in Chira, NRM first stopped parties from nominating. And for them, they don't usually nominate. They just go on the national register, pick people, and fill forms. But in I have even written to the chairman of the Electoral Commission and asked him if this is how he's going to conduct the general elections. So they don't allow you to nominate. During the last 2 days, Electoral Commission officials meant to nominate people, ran away. So our boys were there, but impatient. You can't stay a whole day and then you come the following day and the people are not there. And I come from Chirinya, which is a parish in Chira. All the people, presiding officer and polling assistant, were NRM, renowned NRM people in Bukasa, the village where I reside. The NRM registrar was the polling assistant. Her daughter was the presiding officer. Their son was contesting. So when they came, they had ferried many people, some of them not even from the village. And they wanted everybody to vote. But I think the village got angry and everybody turned up. So they make a ride. My candidate of PFF had 480 votes. The NRM had 333. They refused to declare. Called the police, and police drove them away. That happened almost, the pattern was the same. That if you're going to defeat them, they have repeated some elections, but they were coming at 5 in the morning. At 7, they declare that these elections have been concluded, you have come late. And I saw that in other areas. I can't speak about other areas, I was not there, but where I was, I don't think there were elections. On the day of choosing the older persons, because they were elected earlier, Electoral Commission did not turn up. They just went to offices in Mulengera and filled the forms that NRM was gone through unopposed, because they didn't expect the other opposition parties to participate. But even under these circumstances, NOP was there, PFF was there, so they realized that if they subject their candidates to an election, they are going to lose. So you come in Chile, actually NRM has won because they did not, the electoral commission did not come at the polling stations where they came, and they saw defeat. They were bringing police and military. Can you imagine shooting and tear gassing young people as they're electing? And that happened. And I said, you guys, because me, I didn't even go there. I was just between the parliament and home. But in my village, tear gas, Chiboko, because NRM must win. I don't know what the obsession is with these special interest groups. Maybe they will give Don Wanyama an opportunity to say NRM has painted Uganda yellow. I saw that on TV in many areas, but I've told you what happened in Chira. There were no elections. Okay. NRM was just filling forms and declaring themselves unopposed. This exercise was run by police, by ISO, and by the NRM itself.
Benjamin Katana.
Yeah, thank you very much, Oscar. The starting point is that even this is the first time that the opposition has tried to actively challenge NRM in these special interest group elections.
Why?
Because of the realities that the Honorable Semujju has just painted, that the process is just a ritual. It is largely run by the security agencies. He has particularly mentioned ISO, but for this area of Kampala Metropolitan, we even know a certain major who was responsible for making sure that only NRM people go through. So it started with the register. They tried to lock out people from the youth register, but when that failed, they also made sure that they don't follow the register at the voting.
In fact, in some of my villages, like I've told you, the NRM register, what was meant to be the NRM register is what they were bringing on voting day.
Exactly. So in some places, they were moving with groups of people. They take them to different polling stations. They tell them to line up and they count them away from the ones that are in the register. They also cancelled the nominations of the candidates of NUP and other opposition groups. They would enter in a room. The security would man the room, chase away the people who have come for nominations, confiscate their documents, and nominate only those they want to nominate. In fact, in the few places where the opposition won, it's not because of the effort, but it's because of the incompetence of the security people who were deployed in those specific areas, that for them they were not able to pull off more effective rigging.
In your opinion, why was it so necessary for this to be organized for an NRM win?
I think the reasons are two. One is it's an extension of the patronage system of the NRM. But number two, because the NRM knows that its support has waned and it is preparing to rig the general elections. This is a precursor, paint a picture, and I think that is well with even the poll you have seen of New Vision, to create an impression that NRM's victory is unstoppable. You see even people, and also it also helps in the psyche of making sure that there is voter apathy. People don't show up to vote because they know this is fait accompli. But also, one of the most enduring strategies of the NRM, just like most authoritarian administrations, has been to dismantle all centers of power and organization. So that's why you ask yourself about the trade unions, for example. They have been attacked, dismantled. The traditional institutions, the religious institutions, that's why you'll find that there is this group here and another group there. So the youth, excuse me, these organizations, the National Youth Council, the Uganda National Students Association, Women Council, they are also centers of power around which citizens can organize and engage in civic engagement with the administration of the day. But because the administration of the day does not need engagement, because it is authoritarian in nature, it wants to have its way. And it's born out of the mentality, which has been ably manifested by the Honorable Mulengera here, that, we are giving you money. For them, the line has been crossed. There is no NRM, there is no Museveni, there is no Uganda. The state of Uganda is reduced to an individual and the party. So when the state does something, it is the individual who has done that thing.
So Martin, what explains the NRM win, and what's your response to these attacks coming to you about you seemingly loading it over the opposition in regards to giving them money, quoting you?
No, but you see, it's important that Ugandans out there understand. And I can use the US as an example. That when we go for an election campaign with a manifesto and we win, like the NRM did, it's the government in power. Unfortunate for the opposition, government even runs parliament with a majority where you don't need any opposition to participate for you to have a bill passed with decorum. So
that is why you keep on suspending rules and cutting shortcuts, and yet you have the numbers. Surely that is laziness.
But let me make my case. So we are in charge of making policy as is, and deciding on supporting the political parties opposition was an NRM policy, and if we wanted, we wouldn't. So that's how government is run. And I want colleagues to appreciate. But for me, this is what I got from especially within the Kampala area, because this is where the usual position is. In the countryside, elections went on very well, and most of the seats actually have been retained by the NRM. But what happened in Kampala actually, and this is where the problem is, that most of the opposition parties do not take time to educate their supporters on how you participate. Very many opposition candidates came to the polling stations. They did not know that before you participate, you had to pick a nomination form. And they reached there and said, "Me, I've come today, I want to contest." But I say, "You didn't pick an interest form. We do not know you. You do not even appear on the register."
If that is the case, you need the work of opposition to train people on civic education.
No, but you should, because for us we do. We go out of we go out of the way. But you see, these are mobilization issues, and that is why you have a challenge. For us, we go out of the way.
Constitutional bodies that are assigned to do civic education.
And that is why I'm telling you that
if
we
you
don't
think it is opposition now, they should take you to Chankwanzi for further training.
Listen.
That is why in Uganda you have to have an ambulance as a member of parliament, a bursary scheme. I don't know what.
You see,
is that the role of member of parliament?
You see, for us as the NRM, and that's why we don't take these things lightly. We go ahead and mobilize as a party. Have our people informed and support them to actually even participate. And I think this now should go to the opposition. But by and large, I think, especially for the areas that did not vote, they will have a chance to vote again. But I am happy that at least, even as we speak, 90% of the areas where the election took place, NRM took actually almost 95% of the vote. Okay. And we are happy with that.
Let me get Duncan Abigawa to speak last on this one. Semujju is off microphone.
It is only the minister who can celebrate trouble.
Semujju is corrupting me.
Until when himself will become a victim.
Yeah. Semujju is corrupting me, but I'm not taking his side. He promised me a vote, but he hasn't yet crossed into the NRM, so he can't vote for me.
But you will be a good leader.
but Oscar, the youth elections are largely, besides that the structures eventually meet to elect the 5 members of parliament for the youth. Besides that function, the structures of the special interest groups, right from the village and so forth, are not so significant because they are usually silent. The Honorable Minister here knows in the budgeting processes and so forth.
I.e., after the election, nothing happens.
Exactly. The government does not allocate resources to keep those structures relevant. We've all been in those structures at some point, and you find you have not made in entire 5-year period when you're in the structure, the sub-county and so forth. So besides electing the 5 members of parliament, the structures are largely very, very silent. I think parties should make an effort to build internally, to build and strengthen their special interest groups. And I see most of the parties that have come after the NRM have modeled their structures around the NRM. You go to NUP now, they have Women's League, Youth League, same thing that the Honorable Semujju had in FDC, and they're also going to do in the PFF. So you can internally strengthen your structures as a party, and they will be more vibrant than the government structures, because the government does not allocate money to these youth structures. That said and done, the NRM has not worked so hard towards empowering its youth, because you've read here and there. I will talk nicer about Honorable Kena's party, how President Obote personally mentored so many people that have become very big. Dr. Nganda, Professor Mutevere. You can see there was deliberate effort to mentor, support, and raise young people. You read the story of Chris Rwakasisa and how he was picked by President Obote from Shema to go and study in the Soviet Union and so forth. But today, Honorable Minister, you can bear me witness. I don't know how many young people the NRM has given an opportunity. You can ask, and you can ask, and you will not find out when President Museveni last met the NRM Youth League, or how many of the Youth League members the president has deployed as ambassadors, as ministers, or sent out.
How many? Martin, how many?
Or sent out for education abroad. The minister here knows he represents different interests, including why his district was carved out of where it was carved out. There are geopolitical issues there. That's why the minister is there. He's not there because he's a young person. He's not there because he's a young person. I've personally had my frustrations with it.
Duncan has benefited.
I've personally had frustrations
by the NRM,
with the system,
including the Secretary General.
As far as the young people is concerned, I worked for the president in his office.
It was a nightmare for you.
No, it wasn't a nightmare. No, it wasn't a nightmare. But let me share a personal experience. The University of Cardiff in the UK gave me half a scholarship. I wrote to the president. I said, Mr. President, I'm your staff, etc. The university has given me an opportunity to go and study, contribute for me upkeep. They had paid my fees. They wanted me to have money for upkeep, rent and food. A State House told me they didn't have that money. But there are so many people who go to study, and we see these things.
For that, in the budget.
Don't cause me problems.
No, I want to tell you that the money is there. It is in the budget, 23 billion.
The Russians, they do send many people.
The Russians gave me full scholarship.
But
I still wrote
in the current State House, would you send him?
I still wrote to State House. I still wrote State House when the Russians gave me full scholarship.
So you went to the wrong address. The way you talk, you cannot be sponsored by State House.
He should ask you.
I said,
for UPC,
I mean,
I told State House. Yeah. I told State House, the Russian government has given me full scholarship. Give me study leave and I go and study. They said, no, you can't go. You have to choose between the job and the scholarship. So you can see that besides this semantics of structures and saying the NRM is empowering young people, there are examples that where they could have done better and they have not.
Thank you. You want to add?
In 1 minute, yes, because I think I forgot to speak about this. The importance of these structures to us as the NRM. One of them is actually a mobilization tool. For instance, as we stand now, each village in this country, has 30 NRM members. No, let me just make my point. But we've been speaking about the country and we can speak. But listen, it's a good mobilization tool for the NRM because we have around 72,000 villages across the country. If each village has 30 members of the NRM as a starting point in leadership positions for the youth, for the women, for the elderly, for the veterans, and you see, if you do the mathematics, as we speak now, the NRM already has 2.1 million voters already. So we're just going to add on
to begin with.
So it's important that the opposition also starts.
Try and do that.
The areas of influence, I am around 200 to 300 per village.
200.
That is the difference.
No, but you see, for me, I'm talking about the leaders. No, I'm not talking about the entire.
The leaders are long. I can also break it down.
Oscar, what troubled
Semujju, let me read out for you a message Moses Piaranga is writing to you. Ibra said that in one of the villages in his constituency, the PFF candidate got about 400 votes.
480.
480.
Yes.
And the NRM got about 350.
Of failed people.
Where did the NUP and UPC candidates obtain what did they obtain in that village?
No.
Or were they denied by government agencies? Secondly, nomination started on 2nd June, ended on 10th June. If the NUP candidates were being denied nomination, how come the leader of opposition didn't raise this matter?
We actually filed a complaint with the Electoral Commission, formal complaint.
What has made the NRM perform better among the youth in Greater Kampala is the fact that the NRM has entered the ghettos and addressed their concerns and continues to do so.
What Biaranga doesn't know, the voting pattern in Chira, where either NUP or PFF had the biggest following, the others will just join the same line. The NUP candidate, for example, in my area had 7 votes. Not because there were no NUP supporters in the area, but the moment they saw that PFF candidate...
that the opposition were...
They were doing that throughout the constituency. And so that's how they vote, because for them it's a referendum against Museveni. And Biaranga needs to understand what frustrated Museveni after Kawembe in all his meetings was that he had been told they have more than 20,000 people on the NRM register. He kept saying, why did we get only 8,000? In former meetings, he said, Damulira, you see, this young minister is still really have entered the ghetto, even Biaranga. And Museveni was quarreling because he has given money to Damulira, the director of police crime intelligence, to go and organize ghetto for NRM. So are you hearing NRM structures? Damulira, brigadier of the crime intelligence directorate in police, is the one who is responsible for ghetto. And he told them in his and other meetings, but Damulira told me we have ghetto, not an NRM chairman, but police has told him 7 in the ghetto, in Kawempe, we have 60 people per village. Where did they go? And he was quarreling because he had put in a lot of money. So when we are speaking about NRM, and you care about the country, because these things, Museveni went to the world to fight under the pretext that UPC had cheated the election. You're talking about PFF as being insignificant. Your leader contested the elections and lost. Museveni has only won elections that he has organized. He has never won elections organized by other people. Some of us win elections that are organized by Museveni. So he went to fight in Luwero after losing elections in Mbarara North. So please stop parading and throwing Museveni in people's faces. So Oscar, the ghetto is a that's how you failed the last election. So the ghetto is organized by police for NRM. You've seen Damulira in Jinja giving out money that they're organizing ghetto. So in Uganda, you contest against the state, not a political party called NRM. Yeah. In the area where I am talking about, people went through hardships just to nominate. It was like a privilege to nominate. You don't know how we were running around looking for Electoral Commission officials. I have written formally to the chairman of Electoral Commission, Justice Biabakam, asking him if this is how he's going to organize the election. But Oscar, second,
yes,
we have 10 million youth in Uganda aged 18 to 30. They have a structure at a national level whose funding is 1.5 billion. That's the funding of that structure. But also, you have the older person 60 and above who are less than 1% of the population, the Museveni's age and Moses Ali. The older persons, I told you last time, in my village, on the register of the older persons, we have only, people with disability, we have only 7 people. That's the register. All parties must go hunting down for these 7, but the position available are 5. So the register has 7 people, they must choose 5. So this Ujamaism that Museveni copied in Tanzania of creating non-existing structures and then celebrating them. Because NRM, even where they don't have a person with a disability, they will assign someone and he will parade himself like a person. Because in some areas, they don't register at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the starting point, tell us how many people with disability in Uganda do we have?
Thank you, Honorable Semujju. I want to give you some news. Uganda-Iran student evacuation update. Uganda's ambassador to Turkey, Nusrat Bello. But Israel... Pardon?
He has not spoken for Uganda throughout.
I'm a Ugandan, so whatever I speak is
You're a minister
Uganda,
for all of us.
without even the position.
But
now, how do I come to your office when you are exhibiting?
Honorable Mugara, the Minister for Foreign...
Because you're a minister for everybody,
tourism,
including
yes.
me.
Yes.
This war, Israel-Iran, to begin with, where do you think it's going and how far? And then how will it affect Uganda?
Where do I think? First of all, I don't think it's going to affect us. Maybe our students, we are going to, the ones in Iran and some, but maybe, and the challenges in the Red Sea with the Houthis attacking or making the trade route almost impassable. But there is not much impact on us as a country. I don't see it. But well, I just think that first of all, it's unfortunate that all this is happening. It is, and so many people are dying, even as we speak. But I think it's going to end soon. I think
You think so? It's going to end soon.
Yes, and because I think it can be a long debate. But let me say this: I don't know how lucky the Israelis are. You can see that they have planned this over the years, and I think the attack by the Iranian proxies in 2023 against the Israelis when they kidnapped some of the people, I think by the Hamas group, really helped. It was what helped Israel do whatever it's doing now. I mean, attack all the proxy forces across in the neighboring countries, but finally end up with Iran. And I think this is the only opportunity that the US and Israel have to deal with the Iranian nuclear threat once and for all. I don't see them backing down. I think there will be a lot of foolery with talks, but the bombing will continue. And I am sure that as much as Trump keeps saying that he's not participating, which is very unlike him because he's someone who takes credit for things he has not even participated in, he's still holding restraint. He's still holding restraint, but I know he's behind this. And Iran should know they stand no chance whatsoever. I think they are going to be dealt with. It's going to be unfortunate, but I don't think that Israel will let that threat continue and grow. And Iran has made so many enemies. None of the Islamic countries are really supportive from the Gulf countries. So it's on its own. But for me, in a nutshell, it has no impact on us as a country. I don't see really.
Yeah. Honorable Akena?
The Congress of the People.
I have been trying to follow, and these days the whole international ecosystem does not quite make sense as it used to. There were certain norms and predictability which has disappeared, and I think, to follow from what the minister said, that Israel have taken opportunity of this fluid system which doesn't have clear parameters as things which used to be done, what you can expect. There may be a little bit here and there, but there are certain lines which one expected not to be crossed. Of late, we have seen lines crossed which you could not imagine could actually be crossed. So it is very fluid. You don't know what will happen and what can happen.
No one would have ever imagined Israel attacking Iran. And
as somebody who has been forced to relocate, maybe not at will, I sympathize with those who have been forced out of their homes, because every time you move, you lose something. Like one thing I was looking for a book which I used to have. It was called it's called the Samson Option, which will talk about the Israeli nuclear deterrent and how they plan to use it. A book some time ago. But with all these relocations, you lose some of that stuff. But now, every time I've moved from Zambia to here, we lost the books. From here to within the place, you lose books. I sympathize.
Had vowed never to cut his hair.
He was still
Now
young.
you're misrepresenting.
Yeah.
I took a vow of a Nazarite. In the Bible, there's a book of Numbers, chapter 6. That is where my vow was. And it was when these people put some funny things in the Constitution which could not allow me to belong to the party of my choice. So from 1995 up to 2005, because the vow of a Nazarite...
How many years?
10 years. A vow of a Nazarite, you don't come in contact with a dead body.
That's
Now,
a diversion.
my father passed in my arms. I had to shave my head. So it was not this other issue, but I shaved my head. My vow was a vow of a Nazarite. But going back to this issue, we don't have clear parameters of how things are going to be done. It is not clear what is going to happen. And some of the pronouncements which come out are issues which any serious students of politics need to take very seriously. Because we need to be aware of what is going on. And we may think it may not affect us, but the way politics is being handled and the way some of these interstate relations are being handled, I think it's something which we need to be cautious and reserved of how we handle ourselves, but keep our ears deep on the ground.
Honorable Semujju, oil matters.
The Uganda will certainly be affected. In this budget, which we have just passed, if you read the narratives from Minister of Finance, first we have a budget of 72 trillion, 32 will be borrowed. But the Minister of Finance says money is no longer readily available in the international market because the lenders there are concentrating on their own economies. With Iran affecting the prices of oil, and they are just starting with the Houthi, as the minister has said, firing at vessels. You don't know, because the minister said of finance that any downturn, any problem is going to adversely affect Uganda's economy. He didn't know what the problem would be. But with Iran fighting, flights cancelled, others have to reroute. Things that happen in any country, especially around that area, will certainly affect you if you're a poor country like Uganda. But for me, what worries me most is the collapse of the international systems, as the Honorable Akena has said. Because once the international systems collapse, we may not know, one day you may wake up and you are in another major world war. Because under Clinton, Russia raided Ukraine and carved out a part and took it. But Clinton did not deploy, and Europe did not deploy their ammunition to deter Russia. Now they have. It's a war they are involved in. They may deny, but they are involved. One mistake in that war, you may have Europe fighting with Russia, and America maybe under Trump may not get engaged quickly, but you're just away from one major mistake. When Israel raided
Europe, they are arming themselves
yes.
now.
And that's not a good trend. At least the history I remember of the arms race is what brought these world wars. So if Europe says we're now going to devote a lot of resources, first of all, you're going to deny Uganda those resources that you need. They are using them to arm themselves. But also they're not arming themselves to go and hunt. They are arming themselves that one day they may be attacked by Russia. And Russia is angry that they are helping Ukraine. So we are a few mistakes away from having a major world war, and it will be catastrophic. So Iran, in specific, the Israelis feels insecure, and for a reason, because you can't be the only one equipped with all sorts of, and you don't allow anyone else, and you think those should not be worried of you. And the reporting on both sides it depends on who you support. Because Israel is even arresting journalists who are reporting the damage that they are suffering. I saw a Sky News journalist being rounded up. I saw Al Jazeera journalists being rounded up because Israel had created an impression that for them they cannot be affected by anyone. Now they are also being affected. I saw when they bombed the hospital and they are saying these guys are savage. And someone asked them, but you're also bombing hospitals in Gaza. They said they are military sites. They said maybe even yours. So you need to understand the politics in the Middle East. The minister says Iran doesn't have the support of the neighbors. Certainly it can have them, but the neighbors have interests of the West. That's why they are all worried. Because if Europe and America joins, now Iran knows where those targets are. You may hear one day that they have hit someone who's else property in Dubai, in Qatar, and you end up with an escalation nobody can stop. Because when you are desperate, you can do anything.
Benjamin Katana.
Thank you. First of all, I think it's very clear that Uganda can be or will be affected by these conflicts in many ways. Number one, these colleagues have talked about the collapse of the rules-based international order that has really been the platform and mechanism for resolving disputes post the World War, largely built on the legacy of the Westphalia Treaty about sovereignty and things of that nature. So today you have a powerful nation which wakes up and is unhappy with another nation and strikes without resorting to the established mechanism of resolving conflicts between nations. By implication is that is going to become a global practice. Today it may be a distant problem between Israel and Iran, but it's going to become a global practice that if Uganda is unhappy with another neighboring country and it has capacity to attack, it will attack. Number two is that Iran's strength or perceived strength has been a restraining factor for escalation of trouble in the Middle East, largely because of that old principle of mutual assured destruction. And the perception has been that Iran, if you attack this country, Iran may retaliate as in this manner. But now the events have showed, I think it is going to be largely affected by this conflict, but its response may destabilize the region and eventually have implications here in Africa. The international trade routes that have been talked about may affect commodity prices. A desperate Iran and those that sympathize with Iran, tomorrow you may find that the Hormuz Strait, where most of the global oil passes through, may be closed. The next day you may have embassies across the country being attacked like we have seen around the world. It may be in Uganda, it may be in another country. When you have you have trouble with oil moving from the Middle East to the rest of the world, you will find fuel prices escalating and many things of that nature. But I think most importantly, the collapse of the global institutions and their influence in ensuring that the world is stable and safe. The other day I was following a report. First of all, in Germany, they have been trying to, Germany had disarmed. They were spending less on the military. They were not acquiring arms. They were not recruiting the army. But now, because they have seen that the global world order is collapsing, they have now gone back to rebuilding their army. European Union, I have been following Macron trying to rally Europe to rearm itself, strengthen its military and fighting capabilities. Where that will lead us, we are on the edge of a global
And just a quick
conflict.
question to you.
Yes.
Do you think we are doing anything about it as Uganda in preparation, or we are going with Martin Mulengera's attitude that
yes,
it will not affect us?
I think, unfortunately, in Uganda we may not be doing much, and Africa generally, because while the rest of the world is trying to reposition itself, build the capacity in terms of defense, in terms of economy, because a poor country cannot fight with a rich one. I think for us in Uganda, we are, and Africa generally, we are consumed in settling small tribal fights, inter-party fights, instead of focusing on building strong systems that in the event of a conflict that ends up because it always does. When we were fighting the World War, Ugandans were taken as porters to fight in Europe, in Middle East, and wherever. Unfortunately, if a global war broke out today, you will find Ugandans fighting. Now, this time they may not be under Her Majesty's flag, but they may be potters. The unfortunate bit is that now the war is being fought using technology, so they may not need potters to be carried from Uganda. But the world is positioning itself to make sure that they are able to fight on ground, in the water.
Much less on the ground. Yes. Let's go to you, Duncan. I've had a message here from Joachim. Pardon?
There's a small issue here on the issue of sovereignty. I think there have been some statements from Uganda which touch on questions of sovereignty within our sub-region, from very high offices affecting our neighbors and dealing with questions of sovereignty. Either we seem to be trying to behave like we are big power, like some of these big powers. I think we should be careful. I prefer the 1963 consensus of OAU. We are going to respect the borders, and we work within that context.
Duncan. I have Joachim here says we've had capital flowing into Uganda by Somalis, South Sudanese, Eritreans, and currently Khartoum Sudanese. Let the Iranians also come, and sharp Ugandans will work with them. that is a view. But I'd like you to just have one sentence on Iran, Israel, and maybe more sentences on Kenya, because a young activist, and I would put you in that category, died at a police station.
Yeah, so Iran, first I commend our government. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the PS has been in Ankara, our embassy in Ankara. They have done a very amazing job to evacuate the Ugandan students in a record time. We appreciate them. Iran affecting us, yes, I think big time. As our democracy grows or otherwise, we seem to be leaning more towards the East, or the Eastern Bloc. You know, we are now partners of BRIC.
As opposed to Sandhurst anymore.
That's what I'm saying, that our democracy grows or otherwise, we are leaning more towards the Eastern Bloc. We are now partners of BRICS. We have a lot of relationship with Russia, military and even in health now. The Russians are supporting our health research and so forth. And Iranians they also by the way have some of the best doctors in the world. Some of our people now are seeking medical services in Tehran and the exchange.
So in short, you think we'll be affected?
Yeah, we are going to be very affected. We are building a nuclear, I think, plant in Wiende, and Iran is one of the emerging nuclear powers in the world. So we could be borrowing some of their technology and so forth. So we are going to be very affected. And of course, Iran exports a lot of oil to China, Turkey, and South Africa, places where most of our imports come from. So we are going to be very, very affected by this conflict.
Yeah. And on Kenya, I should have said that I got the information about the evacuation on X, formerly Twitter, from UG News lines. So people who wish to get news can go there. Yes, on Kenya?
Yeah, and on Kenya, the unfortunate death of Albert Ojwang.
The support of the government in Kenya.
Yes, I'm a sympathizer of the UDA government in Kenya and President William Ruto. And I feel so sorry for the death of Albert Ojwang, a very young, progressive person, in something that was not seeming a serious situation. Because Kenya has enjoyed some of the liberties, blogging, writing, etc., that even some of the neighboring countries do not enjoy. So this came as a shocker, because in Kenya you can usually say something or write something and do away with it. But the backlash, the youth energy that is fighting back to hold the system accountable and get justice for the rate and his family. So far, the deputy IGP has stepped down pending investigations. They have a powerful oversight authority for the police that is doing the investigations also. And you have big names who are participating in the matter, following up the case, former Chief Justice Maraga and others. There is a very strong civil society system in Kenya that government can never get away with some of the social injustices. And this is one of the cases that we have seen. And well, in Uganda, I think it's something as young people that we should be able to borrow. We've also had some pushbacks. You saw how we fought and defeated the EPS system that had come on the roads to, fines and so forth. So I think we also need to start feeling for each other. Like one of the lawyers in Kampala tweeted one time and said that until we learn to feel
the pain of others.
The pain of others. It was the Mpanga, Council David Mpanga.
Yes.
There's something said. We need to start feeling the pain for others.
Okay.
We need to first start fighting against and pushing against these social injustices.
Let's go to
and to run a route from our Kenyan counterparts.
Yes. Honorable Kena. 2 minutes on Ojwang.
These are one of the things which it is stating the obvious. We need to be able to accommodate different views, and this overreach of security apparatus to protect a government which should not actually need that sort of protection. You have all everything you need, and yet now the activists who want to express themselves now become victims of such. I hope as we go into this electoral period that we're not going to see a lot of that overreach. Already we've seen too much of it in the context of Uganda. This is still our country. End of the day, we still have to live here. And to borrow from the phrase of David Mpanga, he talks about we must have a central nervous system which can empathize with others, what others are going through. So even if you look at NUP as your mortal enemy, you must also be able to feel the pain they go through when some of their members go through, and also we must also be able to appreciate the side of other political players on what they're going through. But let us build a consensus around this issue that Uganda is ours and Uganda must work for our people.
Benjamin?
Thank you. Like Duncan mentioned, when you compare Kenya with the neighbors in the region, including Uganda, is a country that for a long time not a very long time, has prided in having some space.
Recent times.
Yes, space for civic engagement, for people to express their views and are not worried that they are going to be tracked down and killed or, arrested. But it is a reminder that democracy is not static. It is always under threat, and there is always a need for people to push back. And the pushback by the citizens of Kenya, especially the young people, is commendable that they are fighting back. It's unfortunate that the young man had to die at the hands of security. But the positive about Kenya is that, for example, the Deputy Inspector General of Police has stepped down, meaning that there is some sort of accountability. But here in Uganda, we have a case, for example, of Zebra Senyange, who was killed by security personnel. The head of state came and confessed that this person was killed by our people. But you have not seen anybody being charged. We have not seen anybody step down from their offices. So I think even when you compare the two, you see that there is something to borrow from our neighbors, that there should be accountability.
They will tell you that Nixon Agasiri has been charged.
Well, but we wait to see what happens. But even Agasiro, you see, he has only been charged after falling out of grace. I don't know about maybe after 10 years. But at that time, because he was under the protection of the same people that should hold him accountable, he was able to move about without being held to account. But gladly, if indeed he was involved, now he's facing justice, and we hope that whoever also acted with him will be held to account. But the difference between Agasirwe, for example's case, and this one is that the Kenyan case has political bearing. That in Uganda, cases of political bearing, where people have been killed or tortured because of politics, there is no accountability.
Okay.
There is nobody who has been held to account. Yes.
You are the minister here, Martin Mugara, and concluding the the Capital Gang Show.
Yes, concluding. First of all, just in 1 second, you see, the president over time has spoken at so many international fora and spoken about the African challenges, people going to the space, and people think because he repeats this, people take it lightly, but like the others have been said, the collapse of the global system, really. The UN Atomic Agency saying those people do not have anything, you have no right. But I mean, it's the US, it is Israel, they still go ahead and do what they have to. And this can happen to any of us. And I think it's important that we listen to His Excellency's advice going forward. Of course, what happened in Kenya, the killing of the blogger was really unfortunate. It should be condemned. And sometimes there should be a distinction between the actual state policy and you know, the overzealousness of some state players, especially those that hold those offices. I am happy that in Kenya some people are being held responsible, and it has happened in Uganda. There are a couple of incidences where some people have been charged, whether in military courts, disciplinary, because police has its own. Some action has been taken. I'm not saying that Uganda is as clean as the other, but it's important that Ugandans understand that these things happen globally. They happen everywhere. They are in the US. They are all over the place. What we have to do as a country is to continue holding those that participate in these accountable. Very important. And we'll continue doing that. But also to request the other players, especially now that we are going into an electoral process, to hold some refrain. If a law has been passed, for instance, my brother Katana here, saying that this military gear, this gear that has this kind of look-alike, is only a preserve of the military, why go ahead and put it on? Why do you put yourself in such a situation? Just like the president said. If of course I'm speaking to the other side as well. Like the president said, if you want to be a reverend, when we're launching something in Namugongo, the bishops raised the concern that they had actually gotten someone who had dressed like a bishop and gone and masqueraded, I think, around Namirembe. If you want to be a bishop, to dress like a bishop, you go and practice and be a bishop. If you want to dress like a UPDF person, you go and join the army. Do not masquerade. And sometimes we put ourselves in harm's way.
They've spoken on that in court, so no one should be dressing like the UPDF.
I hope they are listening. They are here.
Benjamin is a lawyer, by the way, so he would know how to behave.
Until the law is challenged, let them hold some restraint. Let them not.
So thank you so much, the gangsters of the day. Thank you, Honorable Semujju. Thank you, Honorable Akena. Inospa says at Jimmy Akena on X should increase his media presence. UPC and so on. I don't know whether you listen to him. He's copied you in the tweet. Thank you, Mr. Benjamin Katana of NUP. Thank you, Duncan Abigaba of the new NRM. Thank you, Honorable Mugara. It is sad, I have to mention the death of Sheikh Sulaiman Kasule Ndirangwa, who died last night. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Old Kira Road, Martin, maybe one of these days you should drive me in your supercar. But KCCA says they are going to fix that road, and I do hope soon. National Water in our village has arrived.
Better Lord Mayor after the election, things will work.
Lord Mayor doesn't fix roads. It is the ED.
The council participates in these things.
So, thank you so much. I am Oscar Semwe Amsoke, and I shall see you next week.